It is Wednesday, my dudes. In fact, it's not actually. You guys probably already know this, but for me, it's a Tuesday, and I'm pretty stressed right now because my family are coming to visit me on Thursday. So Wednesday to tomorrow is my last day I have to edit stuff. So I've only got today and tomorrow night, basically. And Green Harvest episode 8 is nowhere near finished. And then I remembered I've got to honour my Planet Coaster viewers as well. So I'm going to try and bash this commentary out. Then I've got to try and I hope my computer doesn't die from the stress of trying to render 2 simultaneous Vegas files. But hopefully things will work out. But hello, once again, kind of a weird intro. I probably should have left this for the meat of the commentary. If people just joining us who don't know anything about this channel and what Green Harvest even is, probably not the best way to open the video. But here we are, back at Neptune Park, my Planet Coaster Let's Play series, in which we're going to be finishing off the Wild Mouse ride that we built last week. So if you missed out on that episode, that phenomenal tour de force of a video, there is a link to the full playlist in the video description, and possibly this episode, if I remember that I said that there would be. When it comes to me editing the video description, usually I say, oh yeah guys, there's going to be a link in the description. Then when it comes to me editing it, I completely forgot that I said that and I don't bother putting it in. And then people will comment on the video and I don't see those comments till like 3 months later, and then I feel really bad and, just have a little cry. I probably should just then go back and edit it, but that would require a lot of effort, so I don't. But maybe what I'm trying to say is that there might be a link in the description, but if there isn't, because I forgot. So fairly standard fare here, building a little transfer track. As I've said, basically every time I've built a transfer track, for those that don't play Planet Coaster and just watch my series for some reason, not so much that you watch my series for some reason because you don't play the game, just you watch my series for some reason because you like listening to these rambly videos with no purpose or point to them whatsoever. But thank you for watching regardless. I feel like that's something you should probably save to the end of a video, but we do things. I like to think of myself as a bit of a maverick with these sorts of things, to be honest. So I'm just going to go balls to the wall, changing the commentary game here. But yeah, that was a strange tangent to me basically saying, as I always mention with transfer tracks, for those that don't play this game, it's a cosmetic only thing. Most real roller coasters have a way of transferring cars from the track to like another bit of track where the maintenance garages are. You can't do that in Planet Coaster, but a lot of people, including myself, like to build a second roller coaster with just one piece of track to simulate the presence of a transfer track. So that was what that big, long, drawn-out process was. You can tell there's a common theme to this series of me just trying to draw out the commentary as long as possible because these videos are quite long and I'm very bad at just conversing. Like, I think with Kerbal Space Program, because I'm good at that game, I could talk ad nauseum about just various different aspects of different things. But Planet Coaster, I'm basically just, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Essentially, I'm just kind of winging it, and so I don't really know what to talk about. And the footage is going so fast in Sony Vegas because it's like a 1440p recording. I only render in 1080p, but the raw footage is 1440p. It's color correct. I should probably color correct it once I've done the commentary, but I color correct it and I time lapse it really fast. So when I'm watching the preview and talking, it runs at about 3 frames per second. Maybe a little bit faster than that, but it's more akin to a PowerPoint presentation than a video. So it's very hard for me to get a grasp of what's going on at times. Speaking of trying to get a grasp on what's going on, I mentioned this last week. I don't know what it is about this ride that was cursed, but when I was building the supports for it last week, the game kept crashing, and so I'd end up losing about 2 hours worth of work, and then I'd have to redo it all. And then when it comes to me trying to cut the footage up, I have to try and scour the little footage for the top right of the corner, trying to find when the game auto-saved so I can loop the footage correctly and make it nice and coherent, and I just generally skim through it until it looks similar to a later part in the video when the game crashed, and then I loaded the save. So I hope I've just had a great idea to mitigate this in the future. Because what I do in Planet Coaster, this is now just me thinking of things on the spot. What I do in Planet Coaster is I never ever press play. I always play the game on paused, just because otherwise, like, I'll be opening the park like 90 years after construction started, and then that doesn't really seem very realistic. I don't know. So I thought I'd like to have it paused. So what are we on now? I'm just gonna try and maximize the screen for a second. I hope I don't fry it. What does that say? Year 4? I think 4 years is a pretty reasonable amount of time to construct a theme park right before opening. But like, you look at Silverette and he spends like 97 years building one roller coaster and station. And I think from an OCD standpoint, I know it makes absolutely no difference to the fantasy of the game. But for me personally, from like a realism standpoint, I feel like it feels, I don't know, it just feels a bit weird. It feels a bit dirty. I don't like it. But I'm thinking, when the game crashes, I can just look at where the game loaded, see like the date and time on the in-game clock, and just keep rewinding the footage till I find that date and time. Then it'll be much easier to loop the footage in the event of a crash. You guys with me on this? This is a great idea. This is what I'm going to do going forward. I'm probably not going to, because I don't like the idea of building parks 94 years into into construction. But whatever, it's a good idea, I think. But the reason I'm kind of even telling you that the game crashed a lot in the first place was because I think I caught all the instances of this. But if you suddenly see support or structures or random things disappear and then they get rebuilt again with seemingly no explanation, that's why. It's because the game crashed. So I had to rewind to a bit when I had to reload the autosave, and then I had to try and find a rough part where the footage seemed to line up before I could stitch it all together. So I hope that made sense. And now in case you see an instance of like that. But like I say, I think this is pretty coherent, or at least coherent, as coherent as my videos generally tend to be. So with the actual construction of the station and stuff with this ride, I kept things fairly simple. I did mention last week that with the supports and general appearance of this ride, it's not meant to look like a temporary ride, but it's meant to be like a low budget ride, like not Planet Coaster. In reality, I know it's scary. Wild Mouse coasters, they're quite popular because they're very, very cheap. So theme parks can build them for very little investment, and very little investment in terms of the footprint the coaster takes up as well, just to kind of enhance their coaster count overall. So generally, they're not very high budget rides. So this is kind of like, I wanted it to look as if, like, you ever been to like a fun fair, like a carnival? I don't know what you Americans call them, but the temporary traveling theme parks. I wanted it to kind of look like in between a station and roller coaster from one of those places and like a actual theme park roller coaster, if that makes sense. So just scaffolding looks like it could all be dismantled in like a day if necessary. So very, very simple stuff, just a basic iron framework with a little roof on top and nothing else really significant to mention. I was trying to sort of dress the maintenance shed up in a way that it looks like there could be a structure underneath it, but I didn't want to go too overboard in like the fine detailings of things because I'm lazy. Basically, I was thinking of a good explanation, like, well, it would really match with cohere with the theme of this ride, but no, I just couldn't really be bothered to do like little maintenance controls and stuff under there. And for what it's worth, it doesn't really make a difference, does it? I think we can all agree. So this was actually one of the more challenging aspects of this build, trying to get the queue to... I wanted it to weave like in the middle of the track, but it was quite hard to do that with Planet Coaster's collision. I suspected this for a long time and recently had it confirmed, where there was a time when Planet Coaster was very restrictive in the way you could build roller coasters, and then they introduced not a cheat, but like a hidden option in the menu where you could disable all track collisions and stuff to make really cool, albeit insane rides, but you could use that to kind of make exploitative things to theme up things nicely. And I feel like, and then I always thought that they might have nerfed that, because suddenly you could still get track restrictions and stuff. And I recently found out on another video from a Planet Coaster guy that's far better than me has mentioned that, Frontier did revert some of those changes. So it was hard getting the path to go underneath this track. I don't know if that was actually anything to do with that aspect, but this was more of just an observation I had separate from me building this ride. But yeah, I'm sure at one point, like, path collisions could be turned off completely from rides, unless I completely imagine that, but I'm sure maybe at one point. But yeah, it was weird. I wanted to get the path to come under this track, but it wouldn't let me do that. But I could delete the track, build the path, then place the track exactly how it was over it, and then it would work. So I can actually do the same thing for this bit of queue as well. So that was kind of weird, but I guess it wasn't too bad. One of the good things about this ride is that it's very simple. I don't think I even used smoothing at all. I think maybe on the last corner when I was joining the two ends of the track up, I used smoothing. But other than that, I wanted this ride to basically emulate kind of what Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 was like, and I guess all the earlier Roller Coaster Tycoons as well, where you could only build track at like 90-degree corners, 45-degree corners, and then just in terms of the slopes, you could do steep, shallow, or flat, or sometimes vertical, but that was only for certain rides. So I think like this ride could easily be built in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Speaking of which, one of the things I hated about Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and one of the things I really loved about Planet Coaster is the fact that the coaster builder is just terrible. Like, I was thinking, you can't build a realistic roller coaster in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Like, every Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 ride is nothing like any real life ride because it's just not smooth at all. And then I discovered a ride in a theme park, and I'm dragging out this intro because I've forgotten what it is, and I'm very lazy, so I'm just going to carry on blabbering and dragging it out. Anaconda, I think it is. Yeah, it's Anaconda. There's a roller coaster called Anaconda in King's Dominion theme park. It's an arrow ride, and if you go on just go on YouTube and type in Anaconda POV, that ride just looks like it was designed in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Like, it absolutely, just like they clearly designed this in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. There's no other explanation for it. Just very quickly, actually, here's me designing the Palazzo. I just did a rough layout with paths, and then there was the intention to cover it all up in paving, although I did end up neatening it out a little bit from what you see here. But yeah, and speaking of theme parks using Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 to design rides, recently, for those that follow Planet Coaster communities, you'll probably be aware that there's a theme park called, just to check out this intro, it's a Kentucky park, and they announced a new roller coaster in Kentucky. Kentucky Kingdom has built a wooden roller coaster. And usually when theme parks are announcing new roller coaster layouts and stuff, they'll make a nice CG rendering of the ride, or if they're feeling very low budget, they'll use something like No Limits Coaster, something like that. Kentucky literally made their ride in Planet Coaster and then just showed a clip of their Planet Coaster ride, but there was no scenery around it. It was just the default station, no building, just very quickly panning around it. It didn't really look that smooth at all, and I was like, huh. Well, there we go. Planet Coaster is now being used to advertise real roller coasters. I think I left a comment on the video asking them to upload it to the Steam Workshop. Haven't heard back yet, but I will let you know if I do. So yeah, the queue line for this flat ride here looks a bit janky, but don't worry, I'll cover it up with paving. I'm just going to pave over this entire thing. But no, I really liked how this corner of the park came out, actually. It's just going to be a little flat ride here, some shops. I did consider putting the flat ride here and everything else in a separate video, but I think this video is just over 20 minutes, which I think is a good length of time for a Planet Coaster video, so thought I'd just leave it in. And next week, I don't actually know what it's going to be next week, so who knows? It'll be a surprise. It might be, I'm just trying to think, I might be building a bridge. I might be building a bridge. I might be building a bridge. I can't think of what else has. I know a couple of. There's a B&M invert coaster and a go-kart track, but I feel like those are further into the future than this ride was. So I'm trying to think what else has been built in this park since this corner of the park. Who knows? It'll be a surprise for everyone. But yeah, I'm just bordering off the pass here with these little stones. Especially in a lot of places I've been to in the UK, but I guess this technique applies in other countries as well, where pathways are lined with little stones and stuff rather than just having curbing. So some of the area is curbed off with these wooden pieces from the Spooky Pack. These wooden parts alone make the entire Spooky Pack DLC worth it. I love those wooden pieces so much. And then the bits that I'm not using those curbing, I'm using the little stone technique. Speaking of scenery packs, actually, today I think the World's Fair scenery pack came out. So we've got lots of new architectural styles from around the world. It looks a bit meh in terms of the DLCs. I probably won't get it unless I decide to build some Japanese themed areas. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I think of it. Maybe I'll get it. I'll probably get it. I'll probably get it because I can just write off as a business expense. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll do something with it, because I think I was looking at the restaurant in this park, the Pizza Pen. I was thinking, man, I was really proud of it at the time, but it does look a bit janky. I think these restaurants turned out to have a heck of a lot better. Christian channel. So maybe I'll go back and just redo that diner. Although, to be honest, I am thinking about finishing Neptune Park soon. I mean, obviously, for you guys watching this video, there's still a long ways to go. But for me, I'm running out of space. I'm running out of frame rate tolerance. The frame rate's not great in Neptune Park, and typically it's taking 10 minutes to load the park now. There's that many pieces. I don't think the Blue Tower with 23,000 parts helps with the loading process, but I say the Blue Tower is 22,000 parts. That's probably only a fraction of the number of pieces overall in this theme park. So it's getting pretty full, and it's getting pretty nice. I like the way it's turned out. It's looking fairly complete overall. I think there needs to be a bit more wildlife in terms of foliage and stuff. There's still a lot of empty space, not necessarily around the tower, because I do want there to be nice open pastures and greens where people can sit and have picnics and stuff. But in the actual woods themselves, it's just trees. There's no bushes on the floor or long grass. So I should probably go back and just thicken up all the areas of trees and stuff. But other than that, there's not much more for me to add to this park, I don't think. But if you guys have any suggestions for things you want to see in Neptune Park, or indeed themes for other parks in the future, let me know. I do all my parks so far have been fairly generically themed, except for the sci-fi area in Crimson Tower. I don't think Mirror Lake had any themed areas. No, Mirror Lake didn't. It had a pirate themed ride, kind of, But that was it. Like this theme park, I guess there's like a very soft sci-fi theme around black hole and Enterprise, but you know, it's generic as they come generally, this park. It's generally generic as they come. Is there a joke in there somewhere? Who knows? So yeah, this building here, I'm trying to sort of replicate the architectural style of the main building, although it's a little bit more simplistic than the main building style. And just finishing off this decking area, just a sort of like a staff access point to get to the back of the building. I guess you could have figured it out. It went to the back of the building, though. I didn't feel like I didn't really need to elaborate exactly where this door goes to. And where are we now? 15 minutes. Okay, we've only got like 6 minutes left to talk because there's the POV at the end, so I don't need to talk over that. Although last week I did talk over the POV, so who am I to say? In fact, what am I saying? There's loads of things we need to do in Neptune Park. We need to open the park. That's like a big thing we need to do, isn't it? Well, I guess it's not a big thing we need to do, but it's like it represents a major landmark in this theme park's life because I feel like it probably should open at some point. I don't really think I could drag that out to a 20-minute episode, but maybe I'll find a way. I mean, to be honest, I should probably do an episode. Oh, I've just thought of what's next. I think I've just remembered what next week's episode is going to be. I think it's just like generic stuff. Not generic stuff. We just established that most of the things in this park have been generic, as in just fixing various things around the park that need fixing. Namely optimizing it for nighttime, because I want this park to basically operate around the year. I was about to say around the world for some reason like this. Not around the world. What is it? It's around the year. That's right. So in the winter it gets dark quite early, particularly in places like the UK where this park is set, in my mind, although it's remarkably good weather for the UK. Yeah, so I've basically been going around placing lights everywhere. One of the more challenging aspects of that was lighting up the blue tower. Obviously, if you look at something like the Blackpool Tower or the Eiffel Tower, they have lights all the way up them, and you can have them change colours and all that. Was it the Eiffel Tower that did like I think they did like the LGBT colours for some, I guess Pride, was it? Or it might have been, I feel like it would be Pride week, but whatever. I'm pretty sure I saw a picture of the Eiffel Tower with the colours. What I'm trying to say here is that the Eiffel Tower can change colours when it's at night because they've got lights up it, is what I'm trying to say here. So I was trying to basically light up the blue tower in such a way that looks a bit like that without looking either way too kind of glowy, like just going way too overkill with the lights, or just looking very, very underlit, and then going around the rest of the park doing lights along the various roller coasters and paths and all that. So got that to do next week, and I'll probably throw in a bridge if I'm feeling yeah there might be a bridge next week. I don't know yet. And this roller coaster marks a big event for me, because not only did I actually come up with a name for this roller coaster, unlike pretty much every other roller coaster in this park. What we got? Venom has got a name, Rage has got a name, Black Hole has a name, the Wendigo has an... Okay, they all have names. Okay, never mind. It's just the wooden roller coaster and the boomerang that don't have names. But no, I actually had a name. I came up with a name for this ride, and I did a custom sign. Okay, this is awkward, because I started talking about this thinking this was the part in the video where I built the custom sign, because most Planet Coaster guys and like just other competent people at this game, they actually like draw out the letters and build like a giant custom lettering. They build custom lettering using the art shapes for their rides, and historically I've always been too lazy, but today I decided to make a change for one ride and one ride only. I've not done it before or since. I just said I've not done it before, but I've not done it since either. So this is going to be an exciting time if and when I get to it. I'm pretty sure I did that in this bit of episode, because otherwise the next episode is just going to be dedicated to me making the sign, which is not going to be very good in terms of content. So let's just keep watching the footage. I'm doing these sports now, so it's going to be a while, but you guys got look forward to it, because in the next few minutes it's gonna happen. How long do we even have left? Okay, we've got a little bit of time left. I think that says 22 minutes until... I think I've said that this video is 22 minutes long now quite a few times already. But as I said at the very beginning, I'm very on edge, because I've got to start making Green Harvest after this. So hopefully, if you guys don't see Green Harvest this Saturday, then you know that I didn't quite make it. But hopefully, the optimist in me says I might be able to do it. So I might just run downstairs, wolf down, cook some pasta up, chop some pasta up. I mean, I guess you can if you were like not lazy and made pasta yourself, but I am lazy, so I don't make pasta myself. Wolf some pasta down me, have a Red Bull or something, and then get to work on Green Harvest whilst this thing renders. Oh, look at this. What's this? Oh, a custom sign. Bet you guys didn't see this one coming. So I decided to call this Mad Mouse. I guess it's like an homage to Mad Max in the sense that it sounds like Mad Max, as in it's the word mad followed by a monosyllabic word beginning with M. So I guess it's that, but other than that, I just thought it sounded kind of funny calling it Mad Mouse, and it's kind of the same sort of font as Mad Max, as in it's yellow and bold. That's about all it shares in common with the Mad Max font. But yeah, Mad Mouse. thought it looked kind of funny because it's a wild mouse, but it spins. Oh my gosh. It spins around. That's what I would call a mad mouse. I hate myself. So yeah, just there's the custom sign. For a split second I thought I'd spelled it wrong. I was like, I think I've written Mad Moose, but I haven't. So yeah, just do a little hyphen to space it all out. It worked out pretty well actually. I managed to get it to fill up the actual edge of this roof without kind of going over either too short or too long. It was just right. I didn't plan that out. I just winged it. So that just worked out. Thank you, Planet Coaster gods, for smiling upon me that day. So yeah, I just putting some little custom sporting behind it, so it actually makes sense that it's being held up like that. But I think that pretty much is wrapping up the end of the content of this episode. Just doing a few little finishing touches. We can put some street lamps down. We always put these gothic street lamps down actually, and the game always makes a little spooky like wolf howling sound because they're part of the spooky pack, but I don't see them as spooky lights. I think they look quite generic. They fit most parks quite well in terms of their theming. So yeah, and then I thought a nice little finishing touch could be a sign at the top just saying to keep arms and legs in the vehicle, because I mentioned last week some of the supports do get pretty close to the riders, although I'm pretty sure that even if like the tallest man in the world stuck his arms out, he wouldn't hit anything. But just in case, I'll put a little "Don't Stand Up" sign. And this is a kind of a recreation. I was going to say a soft recreation, but it is just a recreation of the Lego roller coaster set. And they have a little sign that says "Don't Stand Up" at the top of the lift hill. I'm pretty sure it says "Don't Stand Up" at the top of the lift hill anyway. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not going to go back and check. I'm not going to do a little... I made like a little typing sound on the keyboard just then to simulate me going on Google, and then I accidentally cut the footage off, as in I stopped recording and I didn't realise. So that's why the footage just sort of stopped. My commentary just abruptly stopped just then, and it's going to abruptly stop again because now we're on the POV. So I hope you enjoyed this video, my dudes, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and indeed the Kerbal video, which will hopefully be Green Harvest on Saturday. I'll leave you with the POV, and there'll be links on screen at the end of the video, and goodbye. You know, I still can't finish commentaries without being awkward, can I?